All right, so the big news out of Charleston, South Carolina last week as we reported the guilty verdict. Russell Laffitte, the disgraced banker at the heart of the Murdaugh murders, crime, and corruption saga, found guilty by a federal jury in Charleston, South Carolina. All 6 counts of the financial crimes of which he was accused related to the fleecings of Alec Murdaugh, the disbarred attorney accused killer who was at the heart of this still unfolding story. Laffitte's trial, though, which was a tour de force for the prosecution, for Emily Limehouse, the lead federal prosecutor, a barrage of evidence, a convincing, compelling case, obviously made by the federal prosecutors. But at the very end of this trial, folks, some developments which could shift the outcome here, which could create grounds for potential appeal. We talked about it extensively. Our director of special projects, Dylan Nolan, was on the scene in Charleston during the entire 2.5 weeks of that trial, witnessed firsthand what was unfolding there toward the very end as the jury, some issues with 2 jurors toward the end of their deliberations. And then shortly after those jurors were replaced by U.S. District Court Judge Richard Gergel, the verdicts were entered almost instantaneously, or well, within about an hour, but very quickly after those jurors were replaced. So there's some question about that. Some questions also raised during the trial by attorneys for Russell Laffitte about evidence and theories and potential other parties related to this that they weren't allowed to go into, which they felt were grounds for appeal. Now, those didn't strike me as particularly convincing, but this juror swap at the last minute could be grounds for an appeal. Now, this news outlet has learned that Laffitte's attorneys are, in fact, preparing paperwork to submit within the next few days related to a potential appeal. Now, we're not entirely sure what form this appeal is going to take, whether it's an outright appeal of the verdicts or whether it is simply a motion to Judge Gergel to have a new trial based on what transpired with these 2 jurors at the end of the last trial. But we do know that a motion is in the works and that it will be submitted within the next few days related to the outcome of that trial of Russell Laffitte, the first criminal trial tied to the Murdaugh murders, crime, and corruption saga. Keep it tuned to FITSNews. We're going to update you as soon as we receive any inkling of what this filing might be, or if we receive a copy of the filing itself. But folks, be on the lookout. Attorneys for Russell Laffitte preparing a motion that could challenge that guilty verdict last week in Charleston, South Carolina.